what attracts me.
Yes, exactly. Sarah and I just had a great moment that's an example of exactly what I want to describe tonight or discuss tonight, which is tolerance. She was writing a letter, and I thought maybe there was a spelling error in the letter. It was the word forego. It turns out I'm wrong, and she was spelling it right. The key is that she tolerated me asking her, is that how you spell forego or not? And tolerance is the topic of tonight's conversation because it's a confusing issue that we have a lot of clarity to find around. Tolerance is all around us. Engineers, when they build something, they have different tolerances to millimeters or micrometers. And so tolerance, we have a lot of tolerance for a lot of things. We tolerate pain, we tolerate imperfection, we tolerate superficiality, we tolerate conflict. Yeah, he will for sure. But we don't often think specifically about what we're tolerating. We don't plan to tolerate certain things a certain amount. But if we do give some attention to this question of what we're tolerating and what we're not, there's actually a very powerful kind of insight that comes out of it, which is that we tolerate a lot of imperfection in how things are in the world and in our lives. Often because we don't really think things can get better. So when we don't think things can get better, we should probably just lower our expectations and tolerate imperfection. But we do not tolerate making mistakes. Actually, in my personal experience, I'm not very good at tolerating myself making mistakes, and so as a result, I procrastinate and I hesitate to do stuff, and I worry about making certain commitments or trying different endeavors. And so, if we shift that tolerance, if we shift it from our tolerance in the things in the world, we become less tolerant of things in the world, which means we raise our standards. We raise our standards for how things should be in the world, our conditions, our financial or physical or social or mental or emotional conditions. Those are like the 5 realms of physical, emotional, mental, social, and financial. And if we raise our standards where we want to have better conditions in life in any of those domains, we can shift our tolerance away from that. So we have less tolerance for the problems in our lives and shift to having more tolerance for ourselves making mistakes as we experimentally try to improve our lives. So, for example, in training, any kind of training, let's say you're training to be a skier, you don't tolerate the fact that you're a clumsy skier. You don't tolerate it, broadly speaking. So you set a standard for being a graceful and powerful and safe skier. You set a standard for being better than you currently are. So you want to change the conditions. You don't just settle for being not a great skier. You say, I'm setting a standard. I'm setting a tolerance. I'm lowering my tolerance for my par skiing skills. I'm setting a high standard and a low tolerance. I'm demanding excellent skiing from myself. And on the path there, I am willing to tolerate fear and injury and humility, being told how I'm doing things wrong, errors. And so if we're able to move or shift our tolerance by having less tolerance for our imperfect conditions and more tolerance for the mistakes that we make on our path to improving those conditions, then we actually have this kind of mindset shift, which lets us be more experimental, which lets us do new things and take some risks. Like Sarah's a much better skier than I am. And
hell yeah.
and And a big part of it, she does everything better than I do, and a big part of it is that she goes for it. She goes for things. She makes plans. She executes them. She makes things happen. And in skiing, that translates to her. When she's making a turn, she faces the mountain directly. She faces the bottom of. She leans into the valley of the mountain, and it's very scary as the slope becomes steeper and steeper. It becomes scarier and scarier to do that, but it is the safe thing to do. It is the right thing to do. It is the proper technique. Whereas backing out of it, backing away from the turn and the transition, backing away from the transition is very dangerous. That's what causes injuries. And that's how life is too. If you're in a transition, it's better to lean into it. Now, people need guidance, people need reassurance about their ability to make it through transitions, and that's totally fine. That's natural. But once you know you're in a transition, once you're convinced of it, once you're sold, then you gotta pull the trigger. You gotta move. You gotta lean into it. Otherwise, you pull out. You it's dangerous. You slow things down. You regret not doing the things that you were convinced that you should be doing. So once you're convinced you should be doing something, you got to do it. And you can do that in a way that's cheap. You don't have to fail hard, but you should fail fast. I think that's good. You don't have to fail hard, but you should fail fast. And that kind of experimentation, willingness to do new things, because you have high tolerance for making mistakes, but low tolerance for how things are, then you start to do small things differently in life with an eye on improving some specific situation in your life that you're finding intolerable. Identify something in life that you're finding intolerable, intentionally decrease your tolerance for it. Investing in yourself in a real way means making attempts to make yourself better, making attempts to make your life better, because you deserve it. And you deserve to take it easy on yourself. You deserve to be forgiven a priori for the mistakes you're going to make in your goodwill efforts to improve your condition and the condition of other people and to improve the world. You're going to improve the world by decreasing tolerance for the current problems that you see, saying this is not okay, we need to change this. And then increasing tolerance for making mistakes in the efforts you make to improve the world in the way that you decided on. So I hope I'm being a good role model by doing that myself here. And I look forward to continuing to show. Does the food here or no?
We're going to the wrong place.
Oh, really? Well, we forgive them too. We forgive them for going to the wrong place if they did that. I'm sure they're getting another credit on Uber Eats. So, that's it. Hope I'm being a good role model by doing this thing, by forgiving myself for making mistakes, and just knowing that this is the right thing to do, being convinced that what I'm doing here is the right thing to do. And then, risking failure, voluntarily encountering failure, and just deciding that next time I'll do a better job. Thanks. What's up? Was that Beavis and Butthead, or what was that? Oh, yeah. I think I remember that. Yeah, that for sure. Everything. That was everything.